Welcome. This recording is one of a series of informational sessions created by the District 1 Club Creator team. Today we will cover Zonta and the United Nations and Zonta and Advocacy. The speakers today that you will be hearing are from the top left, District 1 Governor Donna Sroka. She's from the Northampton Club. Next is myself, Mary Knight. I'm a member of the Zonta Club of Quabog Valley. Berna Frasca was a District 1 Advocacy Chair and a member of the Zonta Club of Northampton. And Bobby Cardillo, convener of the Zonta USA Caucus and a member of the Fairfax County, Virginia Club. So we welcome them and thank them very, very much for their participation. I think after you see these speakers, you will agree that Zonta is a powerful force for good in the world. Through its advocacy, Zonta is helping to create a more just and equitable world for women. She's the governor of Zonta District 1 and a member of the Zonta Club of Northampton. She's had a great deal of experience with different organizations that have really opened her eyes to a lot of things happening in the world. So I'm sure she's going to bring a good perspective to you. Before she goes on, I just want to mention a couple of things. There are many organizations around the world that work to empower women and girls, but what makes Zonta International unique is its connection to the United Nations. Zonta is powered with a number of different organizations because it extends its reach and impact to empower more women and girls around the world to realize their rights. Two of the organizations that Zonta partners with on an international level are related to the UN. Let me just get rid of that. UNICEF USA is 50 years of partnership with Zonta on children's education, health, protection, and respect. UNFPA, the United Nations Population Fund, and Zonta together work to promote gender equality, women's human rights, and improving mental health. If you go to zonta.org, click on About Us, and then click on Our Partners, you'll learn about a lot of different programs that we've worked on through the years, including eliminating obstetric fistula in Liberia, ending child marriage, strengthening services for gender-based violence survivors, improving the lives of women and children in over 22 countries, responding to adolescent girls' health needs in Peru, and partnering to empower girls in Madagascar. We've done a lot of really good work. Donna, would you like to take it from here?
Yes, thanks. So Zonta International has a consultative status with the United Nations Economic and Social Council. This means that Zonta is recognized by the UN as an organization that can provide expertise and advice on issues related to women's rights and empowerment. This consultative status gives us the opportunity to participate in UN meetings and events and to submit written statements and make recommendations to UN bodies. Zonta uses this access to the UN to advocate for the rights of women and girls around the world. It's a very valuable tool, and we work to make it happen. Going fast.
I'm sorry.
I think this one will have a lot of bloopers in it, and those are fun too. So these are the Sustainable Development Agenda that I'm sure a lot of you have seen already. There are 17, and the one that Zonta is the most involved with, although they all do cross each other in different ways, is the Sustainable Development Goal number 5, gender equity. This agenda was adopted by the UN member states in 2015 and set 2030 as the deadline for achieving gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. Now, with under 7 years left to meet it, the world is not on track. And amid the intersecting crises of COVID-19, climate emergency, and rising economic and political insecurity, progress on gender equality has not only failed to move forward, but has begun to reverse. Around the world, a growing backlash against women's rights is threatening even well-established freedoms and protections. So here, when you just look at the current rate of progress, it's going to take another 286 years to reform and get to women's equality in public life. 1 in 10 girls have been subjected to sexual or physical violence by an intimate partner in the last year. And at this rate, it would take 17 times faster in order to end child marriage by 2030. So without heightened commitment from the global community, gender equality will remain nothing more than an unrealized goal, and the time to act and invest in women and girls is now. That's why we're doing this. Next slide, please. So one of the things that is very exciting about Zonta's involvement with UN Women and what's called CSW. CSW is the Commission of the Status of Women. And this is the largest annual gathering of women's rights worldwide. And its principal goal is global intergovernmental body exclusively dedicated to the promotion of gender equality and the empowerment of women. And every year in March, women get together and review what is happening. And each year there's a different priority theme. This past year was on innovation and technology change and education in the digital world for achieving gender equality and empowerment of all women and girls. It is a fascinating and exciting time to go to New York City, be at the UN, and actually be part of all of these workshops. There is also the availability of being online to do them. So we invite you to do advocacy on a global level. And now we're going to look at it on a different level.
This next section is on Zonta and Advocacy. And we're very pleased to have Bobby Cardillo with us. She's the convener of the Zonta USA Caucus 22-24 and a member of the Zonta Says Now to Gender Equal Climate Action Working Group. She served on the ZI Advocacy Committee for 8 years, participating in the creation of both the Zonta USA and Canada caucuses. Last biennium, she also served as District 3, Area 4 Director. A proud member of the Zonta Club of Fairfax County, Virginia since 1998, Bobby organized the first Zonta Advocacy Day on Capitol Hill at the North American Interdistrict meeting in 2017. Since then, she has visited the Capitol frequently to represent Zonta in advocating for the Equal Rights Amendment and other legislation beneficial to women and girls. Recently retired from a career in residential real estate, Bobby spends summers at her property on the coast of Maine, and we welcome you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bobby. We had a few questions for you. I hope you don't mind, but we wanted to get it started
Not
by
at all.
telling us a little bit about Zonta and advocacy in general.
Well, thank you so much for asking. Yes, well, Zonta, as you know, was started in 1919. It was the year before women had the right to vote in the United States. And I think we got involved with advocacy from the very start, perhaps supporting the suffragist movement. But at any rate, we definitely got involved from the beginning. Zonta was created as a network of women in business and the professions, sort of to help each other and then to help women in general. And as early as 1929, 10 years into our organization, we had a resolution passed at our convention where we decided and we said that women should have the same protections as men in the workplace. So we're already starting in 1929 to talk about the rights of women. In 1936, in fact, Congress had passed a law called the Married Persons Act, and Zonta was heartily opposed to it. So at the convention, they passed a resolution to have this act repealed. The reason is the act was to limit the number of people per family that could work for the federal government to one person. And that meant that a number of women who worked for the government were going to have to quit or had to quit because their husbands were going to continue working for the government. This was in the 30s when this was Depression time. But Zonta was heartily opposed to this, and they sought out a partner, which is one of the means of doing advocacy. They sought out Eleanor Roosevelt, who was the first lady, to get her to support the repeal of this act in her daily newspaper column that she wrote. But I want to back up for a minute and make sure that I talk about what advocacy is, because there's more parts to it than just finding partners. The first part is creating public awareness, and you can do that by creating an advocacy campaign, such as we have done on child marriage in the United States by creating a billboard and transportation campaign with signs throughout the country about the ending of child marriage. So public awareness is the first step, but the second step is sponsoring or supporting, rather, legislation or opposing it. Advocacy can also be opposed to legislation, such as this Married Persons Act in the 30s. So those are the two ways of going about advocacy, and the best means of accomplishing it is in partnership with others and with other organizations. Our history continued in 1944, we supported equal pay and equal job opportunities for women. We're still fighting for those today. 1948, Zonta created a committee to especially look into public issues and issue position papers on them for the membership to vote on. So we were taking positions as you know, all along. And most recently, of course, we have become, well, since the 30s, we've become an international organization, and we look at things globally, like advocating for better education for women, advocating against violence against women, and as I mentioned, advocating to end child marriage. So those are some of the things that we have done as Zonta over the years and what we're still doing today.
Thank you, Bobby. In your bio, you're associated with the USA Caucus. Can you explain what that is?
Yes, certainly. It's a fairly new organization. We started in 2018 because Zonta International is focused on global issues. And even at the UN, it's focused on trying to impact everything that happens globally. Zontans in the United States decided we wanted to have a way to influence the US mission, to influence what the US did at the UN. And the way to do that was to come up with some sort of organization that would allow us to act together. Because Zonta, as you just heard Donna say, has a presence in some 60 countries, 63 countries, and many districts that operate as our governing mechanism. there are some 30 districts, I believe. And of those, 13 are in the United States or have clubs that are in the United States. So we wanted to gather together representatives from those 13 districts. And we got the governors to appoint someone to represent them, and perhaps even an alternate. And we have met together and decided what are the issues that we really want to advocate for or about. And we came up with 6 different categories and created committees to work on this outside of our general meetings and then bring the information back to everyone to share throughout the country. So the committees that we established were one, to support ratification of the Equal Rights Amendment. Still not totally recognized, although it's met the terms for ratification already. Secondly, child marriage, as I mentioned, since that's an international focus. We were shocked to learn it was an issue in the United States, governed by all 50 states separately. And so we have to take that on as a state-by-state project. And Zontians are advocating state by state to make 18 the minimum age of marriage. We have a third committee on violence against women, including all types of violence, from domestic violence to human trafficking to female genital mutilation and so forth. Another committee, our fourth one, is women's health. The fifth one is on women in leadership positions. And then the final one that we decided to focus on this biennium is one that Zonta International is focusing on globally, and that is the impact of climate change on women, because it is a disparate impact, and it's that women suffer much more from the effects of climate change. So we wanted to take it on as a U.S. Awareness for our membership, and we've created a think tank that meets periodically that any Zontian from the United States can join and share information and hear speakers and learn about why this is a women's issue and why we need gender equal climate action. So that's basically what we do in the caucus. We also sometimes issue statements where we all have agreement on a particular policy or issue. And we just learn so much from each other in terms of how to conduct advocacy, both at the national and the state levels.
And there's a lot of information for people to look at that website, zontausa.org. Thank you very much, Bobby. Is there anything we can do as individuals to support making the world a better place for women and girls?
Well, there certainly is, because one of the things the caucus is so pleased about is that we have created a Fast Action Friday alert system that sends out messages to anyone interested about a particular topic with an attached letter to your legislator that you can implement with the click of a button. And actually, this is the interactive stage of the presentation. I want to ask you all to bring out your cell phones right now, because I'm going to show you how to do this. It only takes 1 second, and then you can be sending advocacy letters to your legislators on all kinds of women's issues. So the first thing you do is go to your text box, press that, and initiate a text. And I want you to use the phone number 50457. So type in 50457 and then hit return. And now you'll be looking at a place for you to put in a subject or a message. And in either one of those boxes, I want you to type the word Zonta, Z-O-N-T-A. And when you do that, I'm going to do it right now. And I'm going to hit, I'm going to hit return. You should immediately get a message back telling you that you have now reached voter voice and you can sign up for alerts on legislative bills that we are trying to advocate for. And it will ask you for your phone number. It will ask you for your address so that it can figure out who your particular legislators are. And it will allow you then to look at the current letter that we are sending and personalize it. And then with the click of a button, it's sent off on your behalf. And it's really one of, I think, the most important ways of advocacy that the caucus has created for our US members. So I hope you all do it, and you don't have to be a Zontian to do it. So share it with all your family and friends.
That seems pretty easy to do. Thank you so much, Bobby. You've talked a little bit about advocacy and some of the things that you're working on, but advocacy is political. But we're not partisan, right? We're not a political organization. Is that correct?
That's correct. We are nonpartisan. We are also non-sectarian. And it's very important that we understand what that means. So we have created a little video that we have shared with our membership to make this clearer. How can you take political action without being partisan or sectarian? So I hope you enjoy the video.
I want to thank you, Bobby, very, very much. That was really informative, and we're so pleased that you were able to join us. The next section is on Zonta advocacy at the club level, and we're delighted to have Verna Frasca here. She lives in Northampton and has been a member of the Zonta Club of Northampton area for 20 years. She's had several positions in the club and is currently vice president. This biennium, Verna stepped up. She is our District 1 delegate to the Zonta USA caucus, and we're delighted to have her in that position. She's a member of the Zonta Says Now to Gender Equal Climate Action Working Group and keeps the district informed on advocacy issues and tries to get everybody on that Fast Friday message, and has been doing a great job. Verna is a biochemist and has worked in the biotech industry and currently working part-time as a consultant for Malvern Panalytical. Verna, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, you're welcome.
For you too. Can you talk a little bit about what clubs and individual Zonta members can do to support advocacy programs?
Yeah, certainly they could do a lot. you and Bobby and Donna have spoken, what advocacy is. And a lot of advocacy is shining a spotlight on an issue. Zonta encourages and supports the districts and clubs to become involved in issues that improve the legal, economic, political, educational, health status of women and girls, and also promoting justice and universal respect for human rights and fundamental freedom. So, there's certainly a lot of issues that could be taken up. And a lot of the clubs have activities that would focus on perhaps one or two specific areas of advocacy that Zonta International's looking at. And Bobby outlined them. You can see them on our website. So clubs would have speakers, give a presentation or host workshops. And of course, the last few years, there have been a lot of webinars on a specific issue, post on social media. Many clubs have and districts have very active Facebook pages, Instagram, LinkedIn pages where they bring awareness of issues. And these could be issues local, state, national, international levels. And another thing clubs have been doing is having a table with Zonta members and information at specific local events to bring awareness about their advocacy work, as well as, of course, the club. And we encourage individuals to communicate with legislators. And so the Fast Action Fridays are an easy way to do that. Send a letter to the editor of local papers to advocate for change. So that's some of the area things that people, clubs can do.
So who determines the advocacy related club activities, for each club?
Yeah, that's really up to the clubs and the individual club members to decide where they want to put their efforts. So Zonta wants everyone to freely express themselves on issues that are important to them and their communities. Some clubs will have an advocacy committee, which will meet and make proposals that they would propose to the club board for activities. Other clubs will, just take, any club will take suggestions from anybody in the club for activities and things to focus on. Zonta International, the website, the U.S. caucus, they all have great information. If you need some ideas, they have a lot of great ideas to choose from, and then you can figure out what is most important to you and your members.
Thank you. And I know service is such an important part of club activity. Are service and advocacy related at all?
Oh, definitely. So it's the the service component, which would be being involved in the community. It could be fundraising. It could be participating in events, helping with homeless shelter, whatever. They're certainly tied to advocacy. It's very hard to separate them. A lot of service projects can be related to related advocacy projects. And one example that is that I know several clubs have done recently is they've called the Period Project. As we all know, period poverty is a huge issue, in terms of, hygiene products for menstruation are very expensive and, are not available by SNAP benefits. So many clubs have taken on collecting hygiene products, putting together kits and distributing those to survival centers and homeless shelters. So that would be a service project, which would be a great service project. But on the advocacy side would be communicating with your representatives in the state Congress and state Senate about specific bills related to period poverty. I know Massachusetts has had several on the books. This would be things like providing free hygiene products in schools or prisons, or there'd be other.
I want to thank again thank you again to our speakers, Donna Sroka, Berna Frasca, and Bobby Cardillo. Who joins Zonta? Globally minded people who want to build a better world for women and girls. You are invited. As you can see from what we've talked about here and in previous information sessions, your voices are needed. We need to work together to ensure that we're able to make a better world for women and girls. Thank you.